Going live so you can see my hotel bathroom again.
Ooh, what do you got on the counter there? Some toothpaste?
That's an iron.
No, right next to it. That little tiny bottle on your sink.
Oh, okay. So that's just a facial cleanser. Yeah, it's a cleanser. Yeah, just like a little cleanser. You know, a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I really should get into the facial moisturizing. You know, just I don't not look older than I already am. So yeah, just do that. You know, every night, and we're rock and rolling.
Yeah, it's working.
Moisturizing. It's work. I only look like I'm.
I remember the day I thought, dang, Tom needs some facial moisturizer.
Yeah, you said that to me 10 years ago, actually.
Yeah, before we even started doing this.
Yeah, you're just like, that guy could use some moisturizer.
Look at that dry face. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, baby. I got tongues. We here.
We stay.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna, and this is GP. Yes. Sorry, I got one more. This is the last episode that you'll have a hotel bathroom back here. I'm flying out tonight, so apologies for that tongue toss. You got to toss something. Toss something. But we're here on nearly the Super Bowl Eve, Friday night before. We had the NFL honors last night, some controversy, some long-awaited, deserved Hall of Fame acceptance from one Sterling Sharp. We got a lot to talk about.
We're both super pumped about that. As a Sharp fan and a Packers fan, hell yeah.
And I think just so well-deserved.
$10,000 for the Chiefs to lose. I think I'd pay $10,000 to ensure the Chiefs lose. Sure, does Carmi go to a shittier college one day? Yeah, but the Chiefs didn't three-peat, so...
If society collapses, though, worth it. Done. Not going to need it. That's fine. We're good. And hey, Denver Bronco getting Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett.
Broncos corner Defensive Player of the Year. Very happy for Bronco. Myles Garrett. Maybe the NFL's hinting at something we don't know. Maybe Myles Garrett is a Bronco. You know?
Did Jordan Love win most overrated quarterback? No, he didn't. He lost that award. So, joke's on you.
Joke's on you.
Dude, this is there's obviously some controversy because this happens every single year, right? We're going to talk about Coach of the Year. I thought KOC was going to get it. Dan Campbell coming in. He was second place there. Of course, MVP. So Lamar Jackson getting the All-Pro nod, but Josh Allen winning that MVP. But this, Jordan, I 1,000,000% agree. How Luke Kuechly is not there already. I was talking about this last night because he was Defensive Rookie of the Year, right? And then he was like All-Pro every single one of his seasons, just about. Like he was a monster. So yeah, the fact that Kuechly hasn't gotten in, I imagine that he's going to at some point. But you know, just a little concerned there.
I think what probably hurts Kuechly, right, is that he retired early.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
just like
Sharp. Terrell Davis, his career was cut short because of his knee injuries. So Kuechly was at 8 seasons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think it was 8.
8 seasons, which is a long career still. Like we just expect guys to play, 10,
Forever.
12, 14 years as Hall of Famers or whatever. I think that probably hurt being a first ballot player. Which is unfortunate. Maybe playing for Carolina hurts a little bit too. I think you're right though. He'll eventually get in because he was All-Pro every year, at least in that mix. And he was insane. One of the smartest linebackers to do it. But yeah, he got screwed because he decided he didn't want to scramble his brains.
Dude, I mean, he just
deal with concussions anymore. So
I don't blame
first round Hall of Fame for you, Luke.
I was wondering if Saad was going to come in tonight. I was wondering if he was going to come in this morning and just be like, "Oh yeah, Josh Allen getting his MVP award."
Dude, it's the dumbest debate
It
in
really
sports, I think, is the MVP. The difference between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and how good they were this season is so minimal. It comes down to like you got to pick one guy. You have to vote for one guy over the other. And I think what the voters did was actually what a lot of us would do. We're like, I don't know who is actually more valuable, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. So you know what? Lamar gets AP, Josh gets MVP. I think that's a smarter thing to do, but for whatever reason, that's the dumber thing to do. You have to have an AP. If you're all pro, you got to be the MVP too.
Yeah.
I think people are like, these guys are both good. I don't know how to differentiate between the two. And you can make a case for either guy. They're both insane. But it is what it is. You know,
I think it's a couple things, right? Because you also have to be aware of who's voting as well, right? Like we've talked about this, and like this became very apparent also like when Aaron Rodgers, right? Because like he said some stuff that a lot of folks were not happy about, and you had folks saying like, I don't care what kind of season he has, I'm not going to vote him for MVP. Obviously, wound up winning it anyway. But like, right, there's going to be bias. There's going to be whoever just has like the most kind of buzz heading into the postseason, because obviously the playoffs don't count. And you and I talked about this, and I feel like it was just both are deserving, and I'm okay with either one. But you had two separate fandoms that were just like, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Josh Allen, and that was just pitted against each other nonstop. So, yeah, I think ultimately, like, hey, congrats. But at the end of the day, both folks ain't going to be that happy because it ain't a Lombardi trophy, right? Like, that's ultimately.
Well, and here's what's really annoying is Chiefs fans coming in.
Oh, shut up. Shut up.
Patrick Mahomes is the real MVP. Do you guys need another award? Do you need another award, Kansas City?
Yes, I do.
Hey,
yes,
what about Patrick Mahomes, the real MVP, going to the Super Bowl? Where are those other two fucks at? Bounce from the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, you bastards.
Yeah,
no,
that was not.
You Chiefs fan.
Big debate. If
I just saw Saquon Barkley. Honestly, I agree. He got Offensive Player of the Year. I think it's going to be impossible for a quarterback to not win MVP moving forward, or it's going to be really, really difficult. But Saquon went to a different team, and they're in the Super Bowl. They were one of the best teams at the conclusion of the season. Last year we wanted, we thought McCaffrey should have won MVP over Lamar last year. So I think Saquon had a great case to actually be MVP this year, but it's just not going to.
They got some votes. Yeah, I would think Friday. Oh, cool. I would think Friday.
How is New Orleans?
It's good.
With Chris Berman last night. It's very cool.
Yeah, man. So I met him last year at Radio Row, and that's my child. Like he is legitimately like responsible, like one of the people responsible for getting me into football. Just like what would you say?
He raised you.
Yeah, Papa. So basically, last year I met him, and he's like, "Oh, like you're the 30 stadiums guy," and I was like, "I am the 30 stadiums guy." So then this year he was emceeing. We had the St. Jude charity dinner last night, which was really great. It was really, really great. Just it's helping sick kids, man. Like it was all good vibes, and he emceed it. Hannah Storm got the Pat Summerall Award, which was awesome. So I got to meet Hannah as well. But yeah, just going over to Chris and just kind of being like, "Hey, man, thanked him very much for everything that he's done and just the influence he's had on me." And yeah, it's been a lot. I'm exhausted, but it's been really great. So we got Radio Row today, and then I'm flying out later tonight, and we'll be back for the Super Bowl, and we'll be back to it. But it's good because obviously coming down for work and coming down for the charity stuff, but it just kind of puts into perspective, what's important. So yeah, man, it's been good. I've enjoyed it. So and I got
you go ahead.
So it was funny because when we walked into Radio Row yesterday, I was talking to Pastor, and I was like, like I don't really get starstruck. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of just like you meet enough people. It's just like people are people, right? And it's just like you could be in awe of like their ability, their talent, what have you. And I swear, I said that, and then I looked up, and it was Seth Rollins, the wrestler, who was right there, and it was like, ooh, like that. That made me pop so much, and I was like, forget. Like Joe Burrow was sitting like literally across from me, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I like Joe Burrow. He's awesome. Seth Rollins. Oh, I shook that man's hand. His hands were very soft, by the way. I shook that man's hand. He's a Bears fan. I was wearing Packers gear. And I was like, hey, I just appreciate the hell out of everything you've done. I met Shelton Benjamin. So the Hurt Syndicate, they're from AEW. Like, I'm always going to pop for wrestlers because that's still there. So that was pretty great. That was pretty phenomenal. Cool. So
I don't get starstruck either. But that's because when I look at somebody who's more successful than me, I just internalize things about that person that are wrong and bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. You got to spread that falsity and just let it consume you.
I'm like, what the fuck have you ever done, dude? Lose a Super Bowl? I could lose a Super Bowl too. Nerd. I'm as good as you. I'm as good as you, brah. That's why I don't get starstruck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so again, Judge, you could if we talk about
what?
If we talk about the actual award, right? This happens every single year. If you went like actual MVP, I mean, you're looking at Joe Burrow, right? Like Joe Burrow's in that conversation too of like Saquon Barkley. He's in that conversation too of guys that are just like, hey, where would this team be without them? And I feel like Lamar, you make that argument as well. Obviously, they had Derrick Henry, but I mean, Lamar had a phenomenal season, especially not turning that ball over. So, yeah, I mean,
I think like it's like Lamar's job got easier this year with Derrick Henry. Like Derrick Henry was that good. I feel like Lamar's job got easier. That's not to detract from what he did. He had better stats than Josh Allen in pretty much everything except rushing touchdowns. And Josh had like 12 rushing TDs to Lamar's 4.
Yeah.
But the Bills won more games. The Ravens had to go through Buffalo to try and get to the Super Bowl, and they lost. Like, I know voting's done by the time the postseason, arrives.
Yeah.
But Buffalo stopped Baltimore. It's like you're splitting hairs. You're splitting hairs between who is better, and it's
and like I'm glad that
of people being unhappy and needing to voice their opinion on the internet. That's all.
That's fair. I mean, that's what we're doing too, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about how we're better than those people.
I don't know if I went that way.
But better than them for saying, you know what, both guys are pretty good.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Like that TD to interception ratio is wild, right? And like that's what helped like Aaron Rodgers get that stuff too, or get those awards because he just didn't turn the ball over. And Lamar getting it last year, like I would have preferred CMC get it, right? And like hell, even if Saquon got it, like that would have been cool this year. But if CMC didn't get it, like I'm glad Lamar then got recognized, and I know we're not carrying over or anything like that. But he had a better year this year than he did last year. Yeah. And he won MVP last year. So like, listen, now Josh gets to be MVP too. Like I'm cool with it. Like it's all good.
No, and that's actually that last comment is a very level-headed thing to say. And that's not what like anybody with the microphone's really saying, right? Like that pushed Lamar ahead for me. That's a great
that's why he got that's why he's all pro. Like that's why he got the all pro nod.
It's not Josh didn't deserve it. I think Lamar did this a couple things better. It's like it reminds me of when was 2011 Aaron Rodgers won MVP? The 2011 season?
Yeah. So yeah, he won 2011 when they went 15-1. Yeah.
That same season, right? Rodgers, he had 4,600 passing yards, 45 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Drew Brees, 5,400 passing yards, 46 touchdowns. Now he had 14 picks, so he had some more interceptions in there. Like Drew Brees had like just an insane year as well, and he received 2% of the MVP votes, right?
Yeah.
I think MVP, you're looking at what that quarterback is doing for their team on the field, what they are specifically doing to elevate that team to wins. And Dan Orlovsky got roasted on ESPN this morning for saying like Josh Allen was more valuable to his team. And Ryan Clark was like, well, oh, are you giving him MVP of being his team? This is MVP of the league. Well, what are you talking about, Ryan? Like, you can only be the MVP of your team. You could be the most valuable player on your team, and then we're looking at that across the league. Like, yes, it's how much Josh elevated the Bills, and I think expectations this year with the Bills offense was, oh God, they might take a step back. And It was like we saw Josh Allen play a more efficient, better level of quarterback this year. And I think that's like Aaron Rodgers that same season, what he meant to the Packers and their success that year. Even though Drew Brees' numbers were better, they weren't as impressive in terms of what they meant to getting wins for the Saints that season.
But the problem here, Perna.
What's up?
Yeah. No, I was saying the problem here, and I'm sorry for interrupt, there's a little delay, so I apologize if I cut you off.
Yeah.
The problem is how you are interpreting it is different from how journalist A is interpreting it. How journalist B and voter B is like and so that's also the problem too, right? Because that's where it's going to be subjective. And again, I think you could if Lamar Jackson won last night, I'd be like, cool, well deserved.
Yeah.
Well deserved. Had a phenomenal year.
I thought he was going to win last night.
Yeah, had a phenomenal year. And again, like getting the all-pro nod for Lamar, like I think you'd be pretty stoked. And Funkhauser, that sounds dope, man. Yeah. Where is it? Where is it on the channel? Check it out. I disagree. Eli Manning, I didn't think he should be first ballot.
Yeah, Eli's fine.
I think he's going to be fine.
I have, like, to me, the issue isn't like who won. There's a handful of players every year who deserve the award. It's the instant narrative that's spun right after a person wins the award. And it's both, and like I'm not complaining about fans bitching, right? If you're a Ravens fan, get online and bitch. Like that's your right. That's your guy. It's actually your duty to defend Lamar Jackson, right? Bills fans celebrating, dunking on Ravens fans. I'm talking about like right after just all the questioning from people within the sphere that this is like what they talk about. It's really annoying. And it's just like, I want to see a little bit more of like the guys being propped up versus like he didn't deserve to win. Now let's question the voters. Now let's throw these people under the bus as well. Oh, the voters didn't know that they would even be revealed. Like who gives a fuck? Like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they're both great. I really like them both. I'm glad Josh got the award. He's been in the mix, I think, multiple years. He got it. Lamar's got 2. It's cool. They're gonna give both of those awards to Cam Newton so he can have 5 MVPs and they can go on and win a Super Bowl because they want to win a Super Bowl more than they actually care about that award, I think. So I don't know.
Yeah. Unless you Cam Newton. He's like, I ain't giving back that MVP award.
No, he's like, I will give you guys as MVPs as well and hang them on money.
Aaron, that man took a spear. That man took a spear from Braun Breaker and damn. he got destroyed. He got wrecked.
It was very cool seeing Pat Surtain win Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he was going to win. I thought he was the clear-cut Defensive Player of the Year. Were you a bit surprised by seeing Surtain get it, or?
No, I mean, like because we talked about this about like who could potentially get it, and Surtain had such a phenomenal season, and I'm kind of glad that it didn't go to a pass rusher. Because I feel like that's what's been done. Like, it's like, oh, is it TJ Watt or is it going to be Myles Garrett? And Surtain had a phenomenal year. So, like, I'm super, super stoked for him. Or, you know, it is Myles Garrett still because they had that nameplate up there. But Sod, wins are not a QB stat. I understand what you're saying, but it's not a QB stat. So you got to be pretty damn happy, though.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I was thinking about, like, it is nice to be in an off season where I'm not having to talk about a new head coach. I'm not saying we don't have a quarterback. I'm not saying let's trade Pat Surtain because he's clearly our best player and we have so many pieces we need to rebuild with.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we just have one of the best defensive players in the league, and he did it against the best receivers every single week. And it's cool to have him recognized for, and corner's a tricky one because the better you do, I feel like the less you're actually talked about because you're taking a guy out of the game. You're taking a
Yeah.
superstar out of the game, and people don't really notice that because you can't see Jamar Chase not getting balls thrown his way. You see an interception,
Sure.
you see those things, but dude,
Agreed.
Surtain, it was nice. And it was cool to see Saquon Barkley get Offensive Player of the Year. He definitely deserved that.
Definitely deserved.
Joe Burrow
Yeah.
got
So,
Comeback
so-
Player of the
yeah,
Year.
they gave him comeback, right? Which, I mean, Joe Burrow had to get something, man. He had to get something. Appreciate Funk Out. I'll check it out next week. He had to get something. I mean, because you want to talk about, potential MVP, like his name is up there too, man. I mean, like he just had a phenomenal season, and talk about just the offensive line woes, the defensive woes, and they obviously didn't make the playoffs, but yeah, man, like Burrow deserves some love, so I'm glad he was able to come away with that at least. It was something. What's that? Of course, Jane Daniels.
That was no surprise.
No.
And see, like, here's a great example of your MVP discussion, right?
I don't think so,
everybody's
Luke.
like, Jaden Daniels, he was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Broncos fans are like, nope, it's Bo Nix, idiots. This is my Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's Bo Nix. And that's what you want from your fans. You want your fans to believe your guy is the one. But Jaden, insane. Who was the player they asked if he could catch passes from any quarterback in NFL history? It's a current player, and he said Jaden Daniels, and he's not on the Commanders roster. Oh shit! Somebody in the comments help me.
I don't even know.
It was like a guy.
Oh, it's Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, it was Neighbors. Like any quarterback. Jaden Daniels. Ooh, you mean you want to switch teams right now and you don't have a quarterback? I respect that answer, Neighbors.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of amazing. No, Amy, I am not that important. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, so Ben Johnson, winning assistant coach, right?
Yep.
So Bears fans, you win the offseason again. Well done. But of course, now talking about did you want to do that first?
Speaking of assistants, Tom.
There it is. There it is.
I got an assistant on my head with the Turtle Beach Generation 3 Stealth 700 headphones. Guess what? Used them again last night. Played a little more Halo. Thought, okay, got a couple rounds under my belt a couple nights ago. Jess was gaming on her Switch. So we were just sitting in bed gaming next to each other. And I still sucked. I could hear Master Chief just slowly dying. These things are so good. I cost my team more victories last night. Last night, though, I played like 6 or 7 matches thinking it would click. It never did. But at least I could hear how bad I was. That's the slogan Turtle Beach wants. Hear how bad you are at video games, you broken 40-year-old loser.
Well, you're a man. You're 40.
40-year-old loser. Get yourself some Turtle Beach headphones. Sponsor today's show with code GPS. Also, you can use code GPS, or if you just put in 40-year-old loser, you might even get a bigger discount. Or it might not work. I don't really know.
That was good advertising.
Like these come with superhuman hearing technology.
You can hear through walls?
Yep.
Like Superman?
I could hear you in your bathroom after this show ends. So think about that.
I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah. I am so sorry.
Wednesday was rough, Tom.
Yeah.
Here's what's cool. All right. Turtle Beach, they give us a bunch of stuff like we can say, but they're like, just do your own thing. Say whatever you want. Personally, I like the information that you give me, so I don't just start talking about hearing Tom go to the bathroom. So
these are choices, Brandon. These are choices at the end of the day that are being made. I'm not.
The Stealth 700 has the industry's first ever crossplay dual wireless transmitter system. That means you can seamlessly switch between your console and PC with just the click of a button. And it gets even better. While being connected to your console, the Stealth 700 can connect with your phone for music streaming and taking calls at the same time. Imagine listening to Led Zeppelin while going on a kill streak in Call of Duty. How did they know? Led Zeppelin's my favorite band, Tom. They couldn't have known that.
You've never said it on the show, ever.
Yeah, they didn't put that in there for me.
Maybe they did. Maybe they just love you that much, Brandon.
Maybe they do.
Maybe they do.
I'm going to listen to the Zeppelin with these.
You know what? If your parents aren't there, Turtle Beach is.
That's right. You use our code at turtlebeach.com GPS to get 10% off your Turtle Beach headphones.
You did a great job, buddy.
Thanks.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
Oh, Stern. Packers fans, man, I'm so damn happy. And if you're a newer Packer fan or a younger Packer fan, do yourself a favor. Take some time, like on Packers.com, read some articles about Sterling Sharp that have come out. Dude was legend. And seeing his brother, oh my God, seeing Shannon be the one to tell him. Did you see the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. That's just because when he went in, he's just like, my brother's got to be here. You know, it's just, man, it was beautiful. It was super duper dope. That's what makes sports awesome. So yeah, Drew Brees and Larry Fitz.
And Philly Rivers. And Philly Rivers.
Philly Rivers.
Dude,
Max Crosby, who's not a free agent, but
I want his bronze head bust, and then I want little heads underneath Philip Rivers representing each one of his children.
I like that. Okay. I mean, that's a lot of. That's
football players have 10 kids.
Yeah.
Could Philip Rivers be the first NFL Hall of Famer with 10 kids? Ooh.
Now that's an ESPN stat. Give me Max Crosby, even though he's not a free agent, please. Please and thank you. Please and thank you.
You're going to trade for Max.
Yeah, I know. Perna wants T. Higgins. That'd be nice. That'd be good.
Yeah,
okay,
Vinatieri
also
too. Vinatieri was another snub. I thought.
Vinatieri, yeah, dude. Like, I don't know how he didn't go in. I mean, Gostkowski can make it in. He's eligible next year, I think, too. But yeah, Vinatieri needs to go. He's that guy. I know that they're not going to prioritize kickers, but yeah, no, no, Jax. I do not think. And again, I think the narrative. Someone said it before. I think the narrative between first ballot is dumb. If you get there, you got there, right? Sharp, you got there. I'm happy that he got there. Eli, I think you can make an argument for it, but yeah, I ain't looking at him as a first ballot. In terms of clutch, those 2 seasons for going in and beating the Patriots, deserves credit for that 1,000,000%. He got some contracts out of it, but yeah, I don't think first ballot. I don't think so. We'll see. This is me.
No, I like Eli, but
yeah, I don't know.
He'll get there.
Johns Alvin. I love Johns Alvin. Do you want to talk about, though, Coach of the Year? Because by the way, before we even get into that, shout out Megan Stefanski for winning Fan of the Year. The Fan of the Year trophy stays in the NFC North. I love how the last name is Stefanski, as that was the award that they announced last year.
That was confusing for a second. I was like, wait.
Did
they mess that up too?
Just phenomenal. So a huge shout out to Megan. She raised a bunch of money too for charity this past year. So that's awesome. So a huge shout out to Megan. I know she's a super fan. And Son, I actually went on the vault when I was there for 30 and 30, if I'm not mistaken. That was pretty damn cool. But Coach of the Year. So I thought about Stefanski for a second. So Coach of the Year, you had KOC. That was my prediction. Dan Campbell, came in second. Andy Reid got 4 votes? And folks, listen, that's just Andrew. That's par for the course. You're a great. They just will not care anymore. You mentioned that before about you just do so well and it's just consistent over and over and over again. You're not going to get recognized. You were saying that with Surtain, I think, right? Like with corners, just like your corner play.
Yeah, or if you win a Super Bowl as a head coach, I think it becomes very hard to win Coach of the Year after that because people expect you to be that good.
But yeah, I think what KOC was able to do, like obviously, their playoff run was uninspiring, but to take Sam Darnold, and a lot of folks did not think that the Vikings were going to be a good football team, and to compete at least for the number 1 seed in the last game of the regular season, yeah, it's pretty darn good. So I think KOC deserves that credit. But Dan Campbell, I feel like if he's able to replicate his success next season, he's going to be like the front runner. Because now, after losing all those coordinators, you just had your coordinator win assistant coach of the year. Now he's gone. Aaron Glenn, of course, he's gone too. Like, that is going to be, I think, the mark of, hey, how good is Dan Campbell?
Yeah.
I don't think he was very good beforehand.
No, I've never been great at video games, Jonathan.
But you've been
was
a great
good
at being a friend.
I got good at Halo. I'm not good at Halo right now, and I got pretty good at Guitar Hero. But those are the only 2 video games I was ever all right at. I get too bored. It's too stationary for me. I need to move around in my free time.
Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah, I'm so good at dancing.
DDR?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at Kevin O'Connell and Dan Campbell, you're basically asking the question, what's more impressive? Making Sam Darnold look good or winning games with 900 players on IR on your defense?
Sure.
And I think Aaron Glenn got a majority of the credit for elevating the Lions defense through all of those injuries. But both deserve it. And what Dan Campbell's body of work over the last 4 or 5 years, resurrecting the Lions, that's probably the most impressive coaching job we've ever seen in a 4-year stretch. Yeah, I don't know a franchise that's been as down bad as the Lions for as long as they were, and just really peaked with a horrible head coach in Matt Patricia. And then Dan Campbell came in, nobody believed in him, or they're like, okay, if this works, it's because this motherfucker's crazy.
Sure.
But there's a chance he's too crazy for it to work. So, the Vikings, they've always been like a decent football team. And
agreed.
They've been competitive. They win games.
No. Maybe in the 70s.
But this year, people said Sam Darnold, we thought that guy sucked real bad. Yeah. We thought he was dead. O'Connell saved him. He's our coach of the year.
I think whoever won the most playoff games in the NFC North should have won coach of the year.
Oh, wow. So none.
No. Just nobody.
That almost sounded like a flex, and then you realize that.
No, it was a self-burn for the amount of Lions fans and Vikings fans I've seen while we're here, and I'm like, we're all in the same place. We're all in the same place.
Hey, look at us.
That's it.
We're the same. Hey.
That's it.
Hey.
No, I don't think so. No, I missed that. No, I don't think that happened this year. No.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think so. Oh, also, defensive rookie of the year, Jared Verse, and he won in kind of a landslide.
Yeah.
So I thought that they might go with Mitchell, but no, they went Verse. I mean, Verse had a phenomenal.
We're not giving awards to 2 corners in 1 year. No,
they're just like, what?
No.
Calm it down there. Yeah. No, that's fair. But no, dude, Verse well deserved.
Yeah, no, he was very good. Showed up in those, some primetime games. That also helps a little bit. Verse was also really great at getting pressure. Him and Braden Fisk together. And then I think underrated is just the Rams' entire defensive line this season.
Sure.
But good unit.
Also, real quick, I wanted to find what was there's Antonio Gates also got into Eric Allen, but I will say Jared Allen, Minnesota. This is the one time I'm going to say nice things about you, Vikings. Well deserved.
Yeah, Jared Allen.
Well deserved.
He was fun.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal.
The Chiefs, then he sucked. He was he was a bad person when he played for the Chiefs, as I recall. Did a lot of crimes, stole money from the poor, stole money from old people, neglected his family, cheated on his taxes, punched animals. Outside of that, though, when he was on those other teams, like Minnesota, really good dude, great football player, funny, cool mullet.
He was a great player, man.
Very good at sacking the quarterback. Where did he go after? He played, was it Carolina and what other team did Jared Allen
You're talking about Jared Allen?
Yeah.
He went because he was Yeah, it was the Chiefs. The Vikings is what I like. No, yes, the Panthers, right?
Yeah. So Minnesota, a year in Chicago.
Yeah, he did that.
1.5
That
years
quick stint in
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was great. It was great. Not hey, that's awesome, Scary. I appreciate that. We're not going to do a ton of them. Yeah, there's just so the Mulligan family. Shout out to them. They donated a piece of the Berlin Wall to auction off. Yeah, insanity. So they gave me a piece of it a couple of weeks ago, just as a history, and it was incredibly kind. And yeah, so that I'm not taking a ton of stuff, just because one, I don't know how long it's going to go, and two, I've been doing some work down here. You know, we're going on shows, and I've been promoting that stream like nobody's business, talking to some folks, hopefully getting some donors. So, yeah, I appreciate the heck out of you. You hold on to that, though. Maybe if you're still interested, maybe the December one, but I appreciate it. Hey, ST, hang the banner, baby. Hang the banner. Hey, let's talk about Brandon Perna's favorite topic right now. Why are the Chiefs going to win the Super Bowl? Oh, there's sirens going off right now. Say again?
End of society.
Appreciate you, Scary.
Yeah, you see that asteroid coming towards Earth? Got a 2-point-something% chance of hitting us in the year 2032.
I did see that, yeah. Yeah. I got circled on my calendar. I'm just trying to get a couple things done before then.
Weird that the same year that the Chiefs might three-peat, we get confirmation we have the best chance of a meteor hitting our planet. So,
hey, people were asking for it.
They were.
Is it 2032? It's 2032, right? That's when it's supposed to happen. Maybe when the Chiefs have won, so that's 7 more. All right, so when they've won 10 Super Bowls in a row, as soon as they win the 10th, meteor, and at that point, we're just like, all right, that's all, folks.
Yeah.
Also, why would they win?
I don't care. Shut up, Kansas City.
Hey, we gave the Eagles. We talked about the Eagles for 20 minutes. We're talking about JS. We're talking about right now. All right, here's why the Chiefs can win. One is a lot of talk about Spags, right? And talking about not allowing 100-yard rushers, and that it now is going to face his biggest test in Saquon Barkley. If they're able to limit what Saquon can do, and they're able to get pressure, and they've been able to get pressure, right? They had 8 sacks against the Texans. They had 2 against the Bills, nearly a 50% pressure rate. I think it was like 46% against Josh Allen, which was crazy. If they're able to make him uncomfortable, and we've seen the Eagles, they've given up some sacks, especially against the Rams this postseason. I think that is going to be their key to victory because they can just grind you out and wait for mistakes. You look at how the Eagles lost that first game in the Super Bowl. It was that massive turnover, right? It was a Jalen Hurts fumble, got returned for a touchdown. That is going to be potential game changer. I said on Wednesday, I think the first team that's going to turn the ball over, they might wind up losing that game because both have been very, very good in holding on to the football.
Don't care. Chiefs suck. Shut up, Kansas City. Hey, Kansas City, go fuck yourself, you stupid football team. Lose, idiots. There we go. That's how I get on ESPN, Tom. All right, here you go, Kansas City. I think the most interesting thing I heard this week about the Chiefs, Tom, came from one Bryce Young. Bryce Young on Radio Row. First of all, that guy's got a bright future. Let me tell you what. Really impressed with this kid, Bryce Young, and his understanding of NFL defenses. And he was talking about the Eagles defense versus the Chiefs defense and how they couldn't be any different schematically. He's like, they're on polar opposite ends of the spectrum. He's like, Eagles, they don't do anything exotic. They run out of their base defense. The problem with Philly is their players just execute their jobs and do it well. He's like, on third down, they're not sending any crazy blitzes. They're not disguising anything. They are just outplaying your offensive players. He's like, Kansas City? He's like, they do all of these exotic looks. They bring extra pressure. Spags dials up blitzes better than anyone. And he's like, and they switch off between their coverages better than anybody else. He's like, when I start watching through their film, I think that there's going to be like a breakdown here because of what they're doing with their blitz or how they're bringing, they're moving guys around. He's like, but they don't make those mistakes. He's like, the way they transition between a man and a zone, and when they're bringing blitz, he's like, it's crazy because you think there's going to be these holes and these opportunities for you as a quarterback to make plays, and he's like, they're not there. So I thought that was a really cool take that I hadn't heard from an actual guy who played. I don't know if he's more powerful of an Italian. This is a battle of meatballs, though, Tom. We've got Vic Fangio, who we got rolling his own meatballs, video of that. And we've got Steve Spags, I think it's his wife, makes excellent meatballs that get talked about on by the team. So it is, I mean, for Italian Americans, Spags
This is their Super Bowl.
Good for the brand. Good for the brand.
Yeah. Listen,
Anyway.
That's what the MVP should be. It's the meatball MVP. I think it's, you talk about and that's where I feel like this game is, because when we're talking about the offenses, it's Saquon Barkley for the Eagles, right? I think just if that defense can hold them for under 100 yards, the Chiefs have a great opportunity to win that game.
And they won't.
And I think that you have both this is going to be, I think, a defensive game. It might open up in the fourth quarter, but I think it's going to be a defensive game. And I love the fact that we are just going to see two really good defenses go at it. And it's the narrative like, oh, it's the Chiefs, right? That has been a lot of, I mean, hell, for my predictions, I was like, I think the Eagles are the better team on paper. I think they got a bunch of momentum. You have Saquon, their defense is a bit better, but it's the Chiefs. And I think to see that play out, and hopefully without controversy, to see that play out of just like two good teams, two good defensive teams. Let's see what both defenses can do. And I have a feeling like this might be a defensive fan's dream, because I think that you could see some just like really good coverage, some really good tackle, because they're both damn good. Yeah. And man, like that dialing up the pressure and just having both quarterbacks trying to read that. God, like this is going to be a fun game, man. Like, again, the matchup, I think, of just like both teams looking at them, you're like, okay. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun football game.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be a good game. 1,000. Give me 1,000 right now, Tim. Chief Pete. I already came up with your guy. If the Chiefs do three-peat, and we're talking about them going for 4 next year.
Yeah.
Victory. Trademark, copyright, 2025. Victory. Already got you guys' 4 Super Bowl thing. I think you're onto something that I think if it's a lower scoring game, the Chiefs win. I think it's their advantage if it's a lower scoring game. Higher scoring game, I feel like the Eagles win this. And I'm not saying like the Chiefs can't score points. I feel like just that's the way it's going to shake out. I think like what you do on defense, what Spags does on defense, it gets mitigated by a good run game, right? Like the Eagles offense can take you off your game plan by running the ball effectively. And they do that they don't have to do anything tricky or fancy. They're not trying to throw a bunch of wide receiver screens to as part of they just run. They run right at you, and Saquon's done it every single game this year, with the exception of 2 or 3.
That exception is what that's what makes this interesting. Like this exception, because the Chiefs could be that exception.
And that's why, you're saying if there's no run game for the Eagles, then we don't believe their offense can hang with Kansas City.
I want to recount.
If Kansas City has no run game, there's not a single person out there who believes they're in trouble. They could run for 3 yards in that game, and we're like, you know what? Pat Mahomes he'll step up. He'll make some magic happen. And that's the difference between Mahomes and Jalen Hurts in this game. Eagles can fuck up their game plan, and Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to figure it out through the course of a game, because they've done it all year. And I kind of mentioned this on Clickbait yesterday, but I forget who posted the metric about the Eagles defense is one of the best at forcing teams to move the ball down the field slowly, right? They force you to beat them methodically if you can, to score that way, and it's worked in their favor. the Chiefs offense is the best at moving the ball down the field, like slowly. And we've watched it all year. They have like one of the lowest rates of like explosive plays this season. So it's a weird strength versus strength, right? Like we will chip away at you. Our defense will let you chip away at us. And we'll see what happens when Kansas City gets to the red zone. Like that's where Philly's defense is going to need to make plays. It's in the red zone. That's where they're going to need to get stops. And we kind of saw the Texans have some success against Kansas City early in that game. Started with the opening kickoff, but then Houston's defense held them to a field goal. Next time they're down there, I think it was another field goal. We're like, okay, maybe the Texans have a chance. And they're like, okay, no, they don't have a chance.
Well, and that's like with the Chiefs, this sounds like I feel like this is a really stupid analysis, but like it with the Chiefs, it really feels like 4 quarters of football. And what I mean by that is they can kind of just be like, all right, for like 3, just keep it close. But once that 4th quarter hits, and we've seen that now in multiple Super Bowls, we're like, oh, down 10, that's fine. We don't care. Like that's where that experience, that is where like that coaching comes into play. Like they're never going to panic. Like they're never going to freak. And unless the Eagles can get after Mahomes, like the Buccaneers did in that Super Bowl, which I don't think that they're going to have that level of success, it's going to be a close game, man. Like it is going to be a very, very close game. And I'm super duper pumped for the defenses.
I think like the guy who could be a big difference maker for the Chiefs is Hollywood Brown in this game. We saw Xavier Worthy, play well against Buffalo. Yeah. But I thought Hollywood Brown early in that Bills game was making plays. And he's hard to cover. He's fast. He has that explosive play ability. And they have 2 guys now on offense in Worthy and Hollywood Brown who can do it. And, Hollywood came back at the end of the season. It feels like, he gets a couple games to get comfortable. I think like if there's an issue, if there's a mismatch there, it might be Hollywood Brown, because I thought early in that Bills game, I was like, oh God, he's going to go off. And then they kind of, shifted. I predicted that in my prediction episode, like I kind of gave what I thought. And then I would say like the disgusting thing that is going to happen. My thought is like the Eagles take Travis Kelce out of the game. They actually do well against Worthy and Hollywood Brown, and we're all talking about Juju Smith-Schuster having like 150 receiving yards out of nowhere. Hopkins could be an issue too, and that's the thing. Like the Chiefs' offense was effective and efficient all year because those guys were hurt on and off. They had to acquire DeAndre Hopkins. Hollywood Brown was injured for a lot of the year. Xavier Worthy was a rookie. It takes a little time to develop and get used to that offense. And now this is maybe the most healthy 2 teams have been in the Super Bowl that I can remember. Like these teams got all of their dudes out there. You know what I'm saying? Which is cool because like there's not, Jalen Carter. Well, Jalen Carter has a flu, but it's like the Eagles don't have Jalen Carter on defense or Quinion Mitchell, like 2 guys who were really important to their success all year. The Chiefs, they don't have, Rashee Rice, but he hasn't been with them all year. So these are both very healthy teams. And I think that makes for like a fair game in terms of that angle, which is good for football.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, man, the Chiefs have the experience. I think on paper, as I've been saying for 2 weeks now, I think the Eagles have, some of the more like the consistency and just like, Saquon being Saquon. But yeah, man, like at the end of the day, it's what's going to happen in that 4th quarter. Because I figured that's what it's going to come down to. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I could be very wrong, but I think this could be a pretty damn close game. So
Casey's got to make Saquon irrelevant in the 4th quarter.
Didn't go the honors, but
there's just not a running back in the league outside of maybe Derrick Henry that is as effective, like as a big pass, right? Like any single play, Barkley can rip it 40, 50, 60, 70 yards. And that's if the Chiefs eliminate that, you don't even have to stop Saquon. But if you don't allow him to get those 20+ yard runs, then that's a win. Like Saquon having like 130 rushing yards, but it's 30 carries at whatever, like 4 or 5 yards, like, and you prevent those big touchdowns, and maybe that's a win for the Chiefs.
Yep.
It'll be. We're here though. Finally, we can just watch the
finally made it.
game. We can watch the game.
Let's go. Perna, what you got coming out today, Duddy?
I will have a Broncos video out today.
Nice.
How the Broncos address. Oh wait, what's the better title? How the Broncos address their biggest needs this offseason. How the Broncos become contenders this offseason.
Why don't you just do like Broncos' biggest needs in the offseason?
Broncos become contenders this offseason.
How can the Broncos become contenders, maybe?
Become contenders. It's like a free agency draft. What are our needs type thing. You got to have that title, though. If you don't have that title, you die.
Sure. I'll be landing around midnight tonight, so unfortunately no Q&A, but I'll be streaming on. I might have a video coming out tomorrow. I might be able to do twas the night before the Super Bowl, and then of course be streaming Super Bowl Sunday. Craziness coming on February 16th, a week from Sunday. We're streaming until we raise $1 million for charity or get 1 million subscribers. We're gonna rock. We're gonna do it.
I might have a short for you, Johnny.
But folks, we appreciate the hell out of you. We'll be back in the normal studio on Monday. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. This is GPS. And you have been... Huh?
Oh, find me a voodoo doll in New Orleans, a Chiefs voodoo doll. I want authentic voodoo.
Okay. I got you. I believe.